Disrespect Cerberus.
I will.
Don't disrespect the bird. Hello. God fucking damn it.
Man, I'm gonna miss you.
I love the Enderman just deciding to show up and fuck
Dude,
up
I
my
so
life.
hope that by some miracle we just won't be able to summon anymore and we can still play the game. Because I don't want to lose my wife. My one true love.
Perfect. Actually, this works. I have a shop idea. I just actually need to do it.
Look at her. This is my wife.
Okay, now I can see why she's your
Love
wife.
of my life.
Okay.
And she's gonna be gone forever.
We're gonna do it. We're gonna do stupid shit. Please tell me you have a lightning rod. I do.
I did. I literally did. I have more 5 stars than you.
If you can figure out what I'm doing.
Yes, I do. I literally have for forever. I can guarantee you in this game I have more 5 stars than you. How dare you? Why are you so mean to me?
I could have just grabbed the blocks, but I think the...
Huh? I did. I bet you I did. I bet you I did. Because I bet you if we checked our playtime, I would have more than you. What?
Pain of being an artist. Welcome to... You're talking to 2 art students.
Shut
We
up.
know the pain of art. Oh, I thought you were saying that to me. I was like, someone commented that shit, not me.
No. Shut your mouth. You know I have a hard time with leveling sometimes. You're mean. Yes, it did. What do you mean? I just wasn't strong enough to beat those guys.
Ah!
Shut up. But I have better characters now. No, you don't. I literally have better characters than you.
That worked a lot faster than it was supposed to.
Persona killed this game.
Don't disrespect Persona. Hey, don't you fucking dare
Hey,
disrespect.
Persona 5 was the last collab they had before they announced their shutdown. I'm blaming Persona 5.
You don't blame shit!
I am. I don't think I ever got Joker. I only got that.
I
one chick.
can't Lyra Creeper. Oh god, this is gonna be hell.
I got Panther. I got Panther from Persona.
Hey, you got Venti's voice actor. Voice
Oh,
actress.
really?
Yeah.
I did not know that.
Panther and Venti share the same voice actress. You know what? That motherfucker can live another day.
Didn't you get the cat? Oh no, I did get Joker. That's right, you wanted the cat.
Oh, Morgana.
So yeah, the options that you could get was Joker, and Panther, and Morgana. Those were the collab characters. I never played it, but I wanted Joker because Joker's cool.
Joker's hot. I'm gonna be
I
honest.
don't agree, but what'd you say? What'd you say? The Fire Emblem collab was cool, but I did not get many characters from it. I did get my boy Alphonse, who was so strong. in
Damn,
this game
I just got
compared to-
judged for me liking Joker for Persona 5. Shit.
That's true. But it's not. But you don't have to. You can just go count the rows and then times it by 5.
Okay, that will work.
I'm gonna do it right now.
I'm building a little shop that has exotic shit.
Well, go on collection. When you go on teams. 1, 2, 3, 4.
I'll keep the thunder
5,
playing.
6, 7, 8. Oh, frick. 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. What? What do you mean sword?
Damn, if
by
only you had the
sword?
Slucking Genshin.
Hey, the odds are way different. Sort rarity.
Again, I swear, we're good friends. I swear to God, we're good friends. Alright, I wasn't on stream.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Oh, frick.
Bye. I understand. Let me fly, please.
6,
Let me end my shit, please. Thank you. Fuck, okay.
24 times 5 plus 1.
Holy shit.
I have 121 5 stars.
Damn, if only that only.
Yeah, exactly. You know I have more than you. You're not better than me. I'll do those fights right now. I know. Wait, which fight? You want me to do? No, I can't do that.
I fucking missed. How'd I miss the spider?
That's so hard.
There we go.
Shut up. I'll do it. I'll do Volk's rap.
Damn.
I did do one! You little liar! I did beat it already! It says...
I don't know what's happening.
Oh my god. Oh, now that you know I already beat one, you're like...
Ow, fuck.
Shut up. I'll try to do Celia's rap. She was hot too.
Who? Okay, any woman named Celia is automatically hot. I'm sorry. Jesus Christ, there's so much like lightning.
I can't like throw up a freaking
Oh yeah, she's fine.
Okay. Oh, this is my Celia team right here. Okay, guys, I'm depending on you. Yes, they are actually. They are actually built for her. Suck it. You win so hard.
Ha!
I mean, auto battle works. So. Yeah, sometimes they're like smart, but sometimes they're like, what's this red area? It does not need to get out of it.
Yeah, they'd be like, we're just gonna be a little bit fruity today.
You're stupid. How did you forget such a simple thing?
How did that piece of glass end up right there? That's kind of annoying.
I'm afraid that they're gonna take too slow, because they're not dying, but they're not doing too much damage. By the way, I'm using New Year's Luca because Luca deserves the world.
Now, how the fuck am I gonna get a charge creeper in here? That's a question. That is now a big ass.
She doesn't heal, does she? I hope not. Oh, she just missed. Oh my god.
Actually, wait. I think I know a way.
Luca keeps getting hurt. He's not like dying or anything, I'm just like.
Hold up. There's some children I need to shoot her in the face really quickly.
I'm so worried I'm gonna run out of time.
Oh hey. Welcome in.
Yeah.
Welcome
They're
in. Go
not
fuck
dying,
yourself.
It's just they're not doing enough damage, I don't think. Why? Is it because you wasted dragon? Yeah.
Oh.
I was like, are you using the wrong team? I told you I was using New Year's Luca. He's win. Oh, really?
Or an Enderman
My
teleported.
team is New Year's Luca, Leaf, that one fairy chick, and it is.
That one fairy chick.
I forgot her name, okay? Frick! 1 second, Lacey got it.
Oh shit.
Lacey beans, come here, baby. Dragon time.
Come on.
He wasn't listening to me.
Damn it.
Actually, I might win this. Oh, what?
Damn.
Who's,
Okay.
Who's better than who? Who's better than who? Exactly. Just shows I'm better than you. Because I'm about to win. I'm about to win.
I just spelled the creeper wrong.
Volk.
Damn, there's no good way that like
Told you
says
I
how to
had
lure
T-Volk.
them.
What'd he do?
It's gonna come right back though. Damn. Actually, no. We're gonna be smart about.
I realized.
Don't tell me two of those just came out of one egg.
Hunting Sandile when I hunted here. I was actually hunting Yelnath.
What?
Yeah. Because I'm actually
Oh.
Bisharp, but I'll have to switch out Bisharp. Fish. What? Oh, yeah, she goes.
We're doing this the hard way.
Which one? I'm almost done, by the way.
I'm naming this motherfucker Steve. Literally for no reason, Steve.
Shut your mouth.
God damn it.
I did do watermelon.
There we go.
Yep.
We got a motherfucker named Steve.
I don't know who it is, but he did do it. He did his stuff.
Ooh, wait.
Yeah, he is.
Did I fucking get rid of it? Yes, I did.
Yeah, I don't think. Is he a difference? I don't think I had a difference on that.
No, we're gonna have Steve 1 and Steve 2. Hello! Hello, VR! Welcome to stream. How are you? I'm trying to get a charge creeper that's named Steve into a little shop area.
You stupid head. You stupid head.
Oh, good sir, you're making my life 50
I
times
beat her.
easier.
I beat her.
Steve,
Shut up.
didn't you have to restart?
Yeah, he did have to restart.
Nope.
It just shows I'm better. I didn't make
Come
a
on.
mistake.
Because you can't lure them in, and I do not trust myself in survival mode to do this.
Should I try to beat the fire one? Should I try to beat the fire one?
There we go. Yes, that way.
Only one of them?
Come on.
Oh yes.
I just dropped a piece of popcorn. Alright, look at me a while. Fuck.
This team is built too.
Come on.
I'm scared, actually.
We're just gonna nudge him along the way.
Okay. Let's
That's
see if
2
they
days.
can do
Please
it
go
on
to
auto.
sleep.
Because they're all level 80, right? But the might is 20. The might of that team is 20.
Yes.
But the recommended is 22.
Oh my god, he's making my life easier.
I have them, by the way.
Don't care.
I have them. No, the fire guys. I have them.
Yes, go that way, Steve. Yes, yes,
Oh my gosh.
yes. Come on. No, no. Stop it. Stop moving. Fuck. No. Okay, I won't tell you.
Oh wait. So I think this
Fuck.
fire one is gonna be the same situation as this is where they're not gonna die, but they're just not gonna. You guys, never mind. I don't know if they will survive this because they're being really dumb.
I was like, why do they seem to have such low health? Motherfucker, I hit them with a trident.
I might want to try and do the PvP in case we can still play the regular levels, but we can't do online. PvP is fun, loser.
Damn it.
I hate you so much. I hope you know that.
There has to be an easier way to learn. My friend will scream at me, so. Do you just have a bet to see who the fuck can go to bed later?
Uden has one of the best character arcs, and I can't believe we're just gonna trash it like this.
There we go. There we go.
Uden.
VR, go to sleep. Oh my god.
Actually, I can't say character arcs. He's one of the best static characters.
Come on. Like you ever tried to stay. Damn, this song hits after What the Fuck Happened to Me in October. This song hits too well.
The what?
Come on.
It feels a little stingy.
No! I forgot to put the glass back!
Pieces right now. Like, are they just hoping to scare
Cat.
somebody who didn't see that obvious announcement? I have one single song voucher. Let's see. I'm probably gonna get a 3-star. That's 4 birds. Maybe I'm gonna get it.
Damn it. There's just gonna be cats running around. I'm okay with that.
Hi, Sid.
There's a cat. Come on.
I'm not shooting
Get.
my first dragon that I got in the gacha.
Get in the glass cage.
Your first dragon I got in the gacha was a 5-star? No.
You know what? We're gonna make this harder for this motherfucker to escape.
She's a purple
Oh.
dragon.
Fuck!
She looks like a person. She has.
I swear, I feel like there's a fuck ton easier way. Also, this motherfucker won't despawn. Steve, get your ass back over there. I forgot to change the thing so they don't show up as frequently. My bad.
Don't keep me in the monster.
There's so much cats. There's just cats. Oh, damn it, those two showed up. Okay. No one sees anything. Damn it. I do actually need to put a cat in there. When the fuck did cats drop string? Like, out of just random curiosity.
I'm gonna cry, dude.
Please, make my life
I just
easier.
realized what the last comic is.
Make my life easier, please. Make my life easier. Just please,
That's a wrap, and that's all the characters.
get on a step,
Not all of
please.
them,
Get start
like a
boat.
bunch of the main ones.
Shit, you right. Oh my god, it would make it so much more easier.
I can't believe it. It's the Brazilian.
Forgot about the boats.
I don't know.
How did I forget about boats?
I don't think so.
I forgot boats can't go up
Co-op,
things.
people rarely use charge backs.
Shit. Shit.
Oh.
Come on. What the fuck?
Uh-oh.
Oh shit.
You're supposed to trap yourself in that hole.
Alright, well, that didn't work out.
Did you do it on purpose? Like, did you walk into something?
Need water or a
I don't-
piston.
No. No. So Evan,
Let's try this.
you remember how I was telling you I'm writing a paper on Final Fantasy 14?
Fuck me.
I did tell you that. Wow. So you know what I decided? Because we have to.
Oh my god, my entire chest is filled.
I'm writing it about how Realm Reborn kind of like saved the game after the first part. Why'd you sound sad about that?
I also did not change the floor, so I have to do that.
What's Dante yelling about?
I'm gonna have to break some physics, aren't I? What?
Oh, dang.
You know what?
Yeah.
We're just gonna have it done like this.
Are you using Galaluka? I hate you so much. You literally got him to spite me. Yes, you. No, you got him to spite me. You almost every time you hear that I like a character, you try to get them.
I was about to say, does that also go for Genshin?
If the rates were higher, it would count. In Genshin, you would probably do the same thing to me.
I somehow- oh, I glitched through the glass. That makes perfect sense.
Why do you hate me, sir? What did I ever do to you? I never did that. Only Dante did. No, I didn't. Liar.
You're fucking kidding me, right? The-
What's wrong?
this game's gonna make me lose my shit.
They kept giving it to you, or they never gave you it? And you tried telling me you had more goddesses than me. And you tried telling me you had more goddesses than me.
There we go. I did it. That took too fucking long. But we got a motherfucker named Steve. One of the only streamers actually online this time that actually streams.
You want me to actually count
Damn.
them, and I'll do it.
Damn.
I'll just subtract the ones that were not originally processed.
We got a motherfucker named Steve.
Also, you can tell by their artwork.
Meet Steve, everyone. Yes, finally.
It's still the same base.
That took an unholy amount of time. But it's fine, and he won't de-stun because his motherfucking name is Steve.
Yeah. Yeah, as it is from the story.
And Spider's like, what the hell is this? The Spider's like, hey, the spider in the corner's like, what the hell is this? He's like, why do you have this motherfucker here?
I don't feel like counting all of them. I just don't feel like I don't. Shut up.
God damn!
I'm very happy that I got the summer Eden. No, he wasn't. Nuh-uh.
That surprisingly works together.
Because we both got him, I guess. He was not free. No, he wasn't.
Good sir, you are not here part of the exotic shit. Leave. Now I need to try it. Actually, I can just summon a phantom and lock his bitch ass upstairs. Ah!
I know, but I don't think he was.
Ah, how can I poop popcorn?
Bro, I swear to God. I think the Dragalia lost work, you should have did salt down. They're rubbing salt in the wound.
Damn, they really said nah.
My
Phone's at 10%. Charge your goddamn phone.
I think you summoned him. No, I want game pass. It says he's available as a 5-star.
Damn.
What do you mean you don't believe me?
This conversation's so funny to hear. I was like, I don't even know what the hell you're talking about or what these characters are, but this sounds so funny to me.
What do you mean? How did I tell you the wrong thing?
A lot of things will tell you, like, not their best in slot. It's like with Sino. Everyone's saying different shit. Mm-hmm.
Because some people can't agree on things. Because some characters have different play styles.
Characters, don't you mean players?
Yeah. Well, I mean, because like some characters, you can use them with different play styles. That's what I meant.
Yeah, but it's mostly up to players.
Yeah.
I was like, what the hell's supposed to be in this corner? It's fucking Elytra.
Like,
Fine, it's better than that. I've been sleeping.
I have
Yeah, I'll keep
grinded build. It's different than other people have grinded build.
wherever both from fought. Mm-hmm.
What?
But you don't question the life of Genshin
There's
players.
diamonds. What the heck are you talking about? Oh, do it!
Boo-boo.
Are you serious? That's not even possible, you liar. Wow, that's better than your normal summon.
My door did not want to let me in.
I do play more than you.
Okay.
That's right, you're too chicken to look at your playtime for this game. Yes, you can. I think it's in that stupid game app that forces it sometimes. I don't believe you.
I was almost about to shoot Steve, and then I remembered, no, this motherfucker's here for a reason.
I don't remember either. I thought it was easy. I thought it was easy to check. Where the heck is it?
There we go.
Where is it? Where is it? Let me check. Alright, what does it say? What does it say for Dragalia? But that's because you cheat on Pokemon Go.
How the fuck do you cheat on Pokemon Go?
You
Oh!
got a frickin' thing that, like, why? On Dragalia? Yeah, that's not true. Oh, that's not fair! So now we'll literally never know. That's some bullcrap. Yeah, that was so funny. I think that's hilarious.
Oh, shit, I can get it straight in here.
Dragalia.
Are you still like getting said fair enough? That was Ray who said that. Ray said for him to go to sleep.
550.
No, that was fucking
I'm
hilarious.
gonna try to open Dragalia to see if we can still play it tomorrow. If we cannot, I will cry. I will sob hysterically.
No offense, I love you, but I do not want to see you cry. Like, you can express your emotions, but I just do not want to see you cry, because that would make me cry.
Then hope I can play Dragalia tomorrow.
Bestie, you're not going to be able to, I'm calling it. Hello, Creeper. Unless you would like to be a part of the exhibit, get the fuck out of here. Oh, goodbye.
Which one? Oh yeah? What'd you think? 'Cause I was trying
Also,
to
my
see
birthday's coming up, and I'm
one
excited,
that
but also
got
not
done.
excited for it.
Like if there was even like a work in progress, but there still isn't. So all of my hopes of Kaya being done by the end of the year is freaking gone.
Wait, your Kai being C6?
No.
Oh.
The Kaya and Android.
Ah.
Shut up! Good. I'm really hoping the Kaya and Android looks good. Or all this waiting will be for naught. It'll be the only Nindroid I ever get unless they make a child one.
recommend something. Never forget how he was like, I missed the stream by a second, then Ray just casually goes, aren't you supposed to be asleep? Ray's a little shit, but I appreciate her. There we go.
Oh. Bro, guess who got freaking announced in Fire Emblem?
My god.
No, Veronica. Yeah, the freaking legendary one. I knew she was gonna be a legendary. Huh? Yeah, but like that book ended, so it makes sense that she came out now. Her and Embla are gonna be on the same banner, and I'm gonna cry because I'm still gonna use my my orbs for Joshua because there's no way he's ever gonna get his rates down as low as they are right now. I know, but I want to merge him. I want to get a strong boy.
No, I love how Ray was just like, that's the one person we know personally who does all the video stuff, being like, I want the charity video. It is the second clip, goddammit.
Veronica is gonna be on the banner tomorrow.
I didn't get the bow, I got the arrows instead. Fuck. Okay.
Stop it! I'm gonna punch you.
I was like, I swear to God, if Steve fucking dies, I'm throwing hands with God. Why are they like an army outfit? What the fuck? Did you drop the bow? That's all I care about. Nope. I'll still take that. The what?
I should probably turn off the PlayStation because I was gonna play it, but then he distracted me, and I feel like I shouldn't play it.
Oh, why did a spider just walk across your face?
I'm not
Huh?
gonna download Pokemon. My back is killing me. I feel like an old person saying that. My back is killing me.
Do all of our backs just hurt? Do we all just have very shit posture? I feel like me building this feels illegal on so many different levels.
What?
Sometime.
Yeah, but what was it? Oh! I'm sorry to hear that.
It's spiders now. I'm just like, get off my face. Fair.
But that means you're still getting things.
I miss her so badly. I miss her
It's
so.
really unlucky when it comes to pizza. I'm so happy for you. I always lose a 50-50. I literally every single game I play, whether it be Pokemon cards, Pokemon, Genshin, whenever I had to flip that coin, I always lost it. Every single time. Oh my god, I hate you so much. Actually, I would choose Tails most of the time. Yes, it is.
I love just hearing this
I
conversation.
literally did.
Sometimes. Oh, I'm 100% gonna make a little area for the Strider. I'm under a blanket. Under a blanket. Under a blanket. Hell yeah. Blankets are the fucking best.
If there's ever 50-50
How about-
for me to win in my life, I will lose it. So if it happens, then
It's fine. There'll be no evidence. Wayward, cut the shit out of the VOD. Wayward, there's just a random jump cut. No one has to hear shit. We are not planning a murder.
you're so cool to me. I wouldn't want 50-50 and you'll never let me live it down. Even though
I am a stray.
I do always lose 50-50s. If I win one, that doesn't negate every other time I've lost a 50-50. Huh? Hmm? What did you say? I didn't hear what you said.
Alright, what are we naming the stray? Wait, sorry, what? Nothing, don't worry about it. What are we naming the stray?
Stop doing that.
Don't worry about it. What?
I have to figure out how to get off of that. She's like blocking me.
Oh god. Perfect. Perfect name.
What?
Gerald.
That's crying.
Welcome to the exhibit, bitch. I hate how I found out their fucking eyes glow because I was building and I was like, oh, what's that glowing thing? Oh, that's a stray!
How was poops?
The fuck? Oh, I was like, that is such an out of context thing.
Oh my gosh, maybe this is it. Maybe this is the end of my hunt. Please be a 6-star. Switch. 500. No!
You have shit luck.
I do. I know. By the way, every single day that they go without saying an announcement about the new rewards after getting rid of the old ones, after I already made a contest entry, makes me feel like I got scammed.
What? What happened?
My brother told me I should join
My
this
brother.
contest, right? And then I joined it. And then literally, like, soon after I submitted my contest entry, they were like, yeah, those rewards we promised you, you're not going to get them anymore, but we're going to announce what the new ones will be, and they never did. So now I feel like I got scammed. What do you mean? I'm not a scammer. Oh my god, I hate you so much.
Fuck Fortnite.
I literally have never played Fortnite once in my entire life. I have never touched it.
Good.
Well, you on the other hand, spent over $100 on it.
Why?
I'm not at all jealous.
Okay, yeah, I can't say shit, but also... Damn. Was not expecting that call out. Why? Are we asking why about why this man spent way too much money on Fortnite or my Genshin addiction? Which one are we asking why for?
I don't want to play this game of Fortnite. The only thing I would ever in my entire life want in Fortnite is The Rock. And he's gone now, so there's no literally point in it. What? You're being cringy.
Little guy deserves Fortnite. Even chat's judging your brother for the Fortnite.
Haha. They're judging you.
Chat's judging you.
For Fortnite. You are supposed to be offended. Shut up.
I'm naming him Ryder just because I want to name a Strider Ryder.
I'm afraid that I'm gonna get the thing I need, and then the school's gonna be like, haha, and they pull the plug on the internet, and then I lose it.
There we go. We have a little pet. We have a little pet boy. He's just a little skunkly.
Why do you keep forgetting what it's called? Oh, frick.
We have a little skunkly boy. Wait, I'm not judging. Oh?
What are you... Oh, what are you chaining right now? I believe in you. You will get it. Hey, at least it's not taking you 2 years. It literally isn't. The game has not even been around for 2 years for that to be even possible.
Damn.
Because I know it hasn't been. What? What does that even mean?
I just say damn a lot. Fuck.
What the heck are you talking about?
Is he judging me for saying damn a lot?
No, he's not.
Oh. I was like, fuck.
Don't worry.
I'll just start saying other things.
I think you're stupid. That's what I think.
Damn.
Chicken bone. You can't pull me.
My roommate's on a call with her brother, but I turned the mic down so they can get a little bit of privacy. So I'm just like slightly overhearing this conversation.
Expecting your results.
If you think I'm not about to name a Phantom a bitch, you're wrong. You know what? The Phantom gets the tiniest ass spot. I do not give a fuck. Fuck the Phantom.
What do you mean you want?
Shit.
Stop! I'm gonna break into the My Singing Monsters headquarters to force them to delete that game.
No! That game's actually becoming trending on TikTok.
I know, and I hate it. I hate it so much.
There we go. We got a motherfucking named bitch. He gets to suffer in there. No, he gets to in all caps, bitch. He gets this in all fucking caps. You don't get room to move around. It will give you the tiniest of breathing room. But nothing else. You get a little bit of room to move. But that is it. You are a bitch-ass mob who does not deserve the light of day.
Dang.
Fuck phantoms. I have never had a hatred for a mob more than the fucking Phantom in my life. There you go, you bitch ass.
Oh no!
Have you ever done Dinnerbone? Not in this world, but I've done it in other worlds.
I'm doing a Fire Emblem map right now, and it is
I will do it on the fucking
only
horse.
Xander is left alive. Because it's the chain battles where it's like you have to do like.
I've done Dinnerbone always on a horse. Because I just think it's funny.
There we go, there's 21 orbs.
He tweaking.
Okay, Josh.
What? I just think it's funny doing Dinnerbone on a horse.
Okay, Joshua. It's time. You can come home again, please. Thank you.
Damn, now you pulling out the full name.
No, that was a 3-star.
What other? Goddamn. Jeb, can't forget that one. I've done that one plenty of times. No, I used to. Well, hello. Thank you for following my TikTok, but I'm pretty sure you were also a porn bot, so I will not be surprised.
I literally just got 2 3-stars. I know. But it should only happen to you, not to me.
There we go.
Literally gonna pass away. Why does my throat hurt so much?
Because you just drank city water. What the fuck do you expect?
I drank the city water because my throat hurt.
Deep dark amethyst! Literally. That's what happened. Ah, yes, time to go to the deep dark amethyst, motherfucker.
Amethyst is in Minecraft?
Yeah. It's completely worth it, but it's like a really pretty ass block. It is completely worth it. It is literally just here for aesthetic.
Oh. I literally don't know anything about Minecraft anymore. I feel like a noob.
Join the club.
Sure. Did you know Amethyst was in Minecraft? Exactly.
Did you know that frogs were also in Minecraft?
I feel like I didn't know that.
No, the fuck he ain't. We got everything else but the Easter Bunny.
You saying Santa is in Minecraft?
With mods, yes.
Is the Tooth Fairy in Minecraft?
With mods, yes.
Is Jack Frost in Minecraft?
God, I wish. You can definitely
To
tell.
like go through all of the Rise of the Guardians.
I love how you can tell from just that comment you know who I had a crush on growing up.
Is Sandman in Minecraft?
God, I wish. Well, technically the Aether.
I'm talking about the Rise of the Guardians Sandman.
No, but I would take the Sandman in any other form. You know.
I know which one you're talking about. I know which one you're talking about.
I'm so sad that you are. Fucking Jay almost got me the comic, and I was like, no, because that's a thick boy, and I would read it, the Sandman comics.
Oh, hold up. My brother sent me something.
He straight up almost got it for me.
Oh my gosh. What did you send me? Oscar's first video?
I'll never forget the.
I can't.
Oh wait, did.
Because I'm not turning up my phone because it'll make you too loud.
Where's the thing? Where's the door I'm looking for?
Here, let me restart the video then. I'll tell you when it's done.
Fuck. Yeah, I was like, what the hell is this? We found this one day and we're just fucking around and finding out.
Shut up.
That opened something.
Shut up.
I'm back. Welcome back. It's blue like the Atlantic and I'm going down like the Titanic. Did that shut the door? No, it opened the second one.
I love that cat. That cat should
And
work
it
for president.
goes blue like the Atlantic and I'm going down.
Alright, here we can see if my hunt is over for Fledgia.
I was like, what is this anyways?
Come on! 5 stars again! I'm gonna cry.
Fuck. I'm in creative mode, so I shouldn't be like worried. But at the same time, I'm just like, fuck that.
Gonna really start sobbing. No, for real, don't. Don't worry. Why am I so unlucky?
Because the world just hates you. Like the Atlantic and I'm going down like the Titanic.
I did nothing.
It's all a trap.
All of this bad luck better that's all I'm saying. I better be just storing my luck. I better get him early and win my 50-50. That's the only way all of this bad luck will be worth it. Why did you just send me gang lead?
There ain't no way he knows I'm in here. There's no way he knows I'm in here. 13 words and fought my one in survival. Damn.
I didn't at first, but now I do. What? You are emotional? Oh, you're frowning. You're frowning. You look upset. That's the Octoling default face. The Inklings are smiling.
Where did it even spawn? Also, that sound scared me the first time I heard it.
Really?
Oh, there he is. Bitch ass motherfucker.
I don't think that's any better.
You are in creative. I know. I'm also a bitch.
I know that.
I actually struggled to get down. Was it this world I actually did a fuck around to find out and I summoned a Wither and a Warden and the fucking Warden won? Here we go. Oh, cool. There ain't no way he has an immunity point. Oh yeah, my god. The fucking what dance? Why purposely? They gave this man unnecessary amount of fucking health.
Wait, there's new Mario movie stuff?
Yeah, the trailer dropped.
Oh my god! When? When did it drop?
Last I checked 30 minutes ago, so probably about like an hour, 2 hours ago.
Oh, come on. I want to watch it.
You're telling me you didn't see that shit, but I did?
I didn't. Oh, that's pretty.
Damn.
Alright, so
Yes!
try and
I
have a good
just
stream and
do the
amazing
Seth
day.
Rogen laugh.
Bye, have a good night. Have a good night, VR. Thank you so much for stopping by and hanging out.
That's amazing. I want to watch it. I'm gonna hang up on you and then call you when I watch it. No, that literally has no point. No! Oh, you gotta be kidding me! He's the best Mario brother.
Wait, what? What was just spoken about?
He said it looks like Luigi gets captured.
Yeah, it does.
No. Really? I'm not gonna trust your opinions on this movie because you thought Jack Black wasn't good as Bowser, so I can't trust you ever. Really?
Oh, hey, here's another Amethyst Geo.
I'm gonna hang up on you.
We're just gonna live in the Amethyst Geo.
Bye.
This is now our new home. This is now our new home chat. We're never leaving.
Mario. Why she's gonna call me when I'm watching it because she hates me. Oh my god, what'd they do to you, Peach? Ah!
So he wasn't lying about Peach.
Yeah, alright. That's an illumination L.
Nah, but the voice actress does a really good job.
Ooh. He wasn't watching it with audio.
Ah.
Because you were on phone. Oh my god, Chris Pratt, you're not even trying.
He honestly isn't. Alright, he's over there where all the gravel fell originally.
Oh my
'Cause-
god, Jack Black is doing such a good job.
He's putting his whole ass into this performance. Like, he straight up said, I'm going to... knock back multi-shot.
Oh wow, she does do a good job. Wow, her voice fits.
Yeah. Oh.
Peach! Peach, I normally don't thirst for you, but you in that fit.
Damn.
Look at that! Look at her.
Yeah, I saw.
I love you. I love you.
Damn, you only met this woman for 5 minutes, you already sound bad. That's not just gonna be my goal, to piss off the... Oh, hello, diamonds. It's not gonna be my job to piss off the warden. Which as much fucking items as I can. Because why not?
I want this movie to be good so badly.
I feel like it's gonna be good, but I feel like everyone's just gonna like, it's gonna be the Chris Pratt performance that like ruins it for a bunch of people.
Yeah, probably.
Fuck. Of course I summoned the
Dude,
fucking
they're adding like all of the games into it, which I like.
another warden.
Oh, that was so cool. Oh, that's awesome.
Wee.
Alright, time to call Evan back.
That was a really short trailer.
It's 2 minutes long.
And you finished it?
Yeah.
Does not feel like 2 minutes, but okay. Am I gonna break into an amethyst geo? Yep.
So I really like it. I want it to be good so badly. I know. I'll be fine as long as it's not too long. As long as it's not too long, I won't be
Bitch, you
upset.
just thirsted over Peach. You have no say.
I did thirst over Peach.
Yeah, my music. Do I have a thing literally called Enchanted Books, or am I
Yeah,
crazy?
I think.
Nope, there was one. Cool.
'Cause, like when that one toad spoke, I was like, Evan likes it.
Welcome to I have an insane amount of regeneration potions. That I've literally got all from the Underdark for, because why would I not?
I got used to it incredibly quickly because her voice is really good. Oh my god, you literally suck so much. No, it does. It literally does. But she's not screaming in this movie, which is a surprise because it's Illumination.
God damn!
If you can't tell, I hate Illumination.
Honestly, that's fair!
Did he say
What
that?
shit? There's so much fucking noise. It's happening.
I'm gonna get to see her stuff. Not really patiently. She's like listening in but pretending like she's not. And she's got her ears pointed backwards, but she's like, got her back facing her.
She's like, I am not patiently waiting for my food to come.
Jupiter. All foods.
Let's do cyan for like the outs. Oh yeah, she fucking ready.
I can't believe Brownie was hiding all of her eggs.
Isn't that like a normal thing for chickens though, to like hide all their eggs?
She was laying on the same spot for like a long time, and then she randomly just started like laying them in a completely different spot.
Ah,
What?
I was trying not to have sleeping and hit the strider.
He's yelling at me. Can you hear him?
I gave the skeleton more space, but it's fine. The skeleton wasn't a bitch to put in.
Lacey, you have to let me in the shot. You can't yell.
Oh,
at me
ow.
in the shot.
That was actually a nice pop.
What? I saw the trophy thing.
Fucking what?
What?
The fucking what? The
It's Splatoon.
ah.
Splatoon.
I was like, do we actually just have a random ass trophy somewhere?
Oh, really?
That's actually a nice breaking sound. Eh, screw it. Warped on warp will work out fine. This is also not symmetrical.
What am I doing? Right, giving Lacey her treats. I almost forgot to give her.
There we go. That works out a lot nicer.
Can you hear her? Lacey.
She's just a little trippy girl.
She's begging for her treats.
Yeah, there we go. That looks a lot better.
I thought you liked it. You want it?
Oh yeah, none of this is even, but I appreciate the unevenness. I also just put no fucking lights in here. Don't tell me I made this. Fuck.
I mean, I like it.
Oh.
I don't think it's just gonna be references. You can't make a movie out of just references.
I mean, you can, but it's always shit.
That would be so cool! Oh, I'd be so happy about that. Mario. What did you expect it to be?
There you go, bitch. You get a little more space to fly in.
Did they make it triple? It's your imagination to what it's triple. It could be just one. Yep. Yeah, it does not sound like he's trying at all.
Who, Chris Pratt?
Yeah.
Understandable.
Did at least Jack Black grow on you? Yeah.
Well, I mean, Jack Black has been a voice actor since forever.
He's such a good voice actor.
Yeah, because he is one.
Yep.
There we go. Yeah, you get more space, motherfucker. Enjoy it.
Oh, dang. You won't let you, like, pause or whatever? Dang, I'm sorry.
That was almost bad.
That's why I hung up on you.
Damn. There's so much like noise here that my brain's
Yeah,
like struggling.
I would like a Luigi's Mansion reference, but I think it's just supposed to be his fun and silly voice.
No, let my boy get his reference. Let my boy Luigi get his reference. Fuck.
I want it. I want him to get his reference, but I think that's what it is.
Oh, did I tell you I bought a webcam?
Huh?
I bought a webcam.
Where's our webcam?
I bought one.
Oh, Luigi has a...
Yeah. That's just a fun thing to chat. You actually get face cam streams. You're not getting them in college though. You get the face cam streams when I'm not in school. Yeah, you actually get space to be a bitch. I gave the Phantom more space to be a bitch ass motherfucker. His name is in all capitals, bitch. We have a Strider named Ryder. We have a Charge Creeper named named Steve, and then we have a stray named Bernard.
I'm literally trash at something. But I'm literally trash at it. Garbage. Garbo.
I love this song. There we go. Just add some light to this place. Oh, that explains actually a lot. Hold up.
You did it? Oh, dang. To be fair, I watched the trailers and I didn't even know it was a thing. I'm gonna beat you up.
You're like lightning in a bottle. I can't let you go now that I got it. All I need is to be struck by your electric
I
light.
thought you were saying there's nothing could happen. I was like, what about that just clicked everything you just said? I have Star Wars to be excited for.
Oh, you mean the
I
motherfucker?
do, but I didn't know about that in the beginning of the movie. No.
Don't you dare fucking escape.
Now I have so many things to be excited for.
That creeper actually scared the shit out of me. You're like lightning in a bottle. I can't let you go now that I got it. All I need is to be struck by your electric light.
What is going on with the Christmas contest? I'm gonna hurt someone. Because he's ugly. That's what. That was what I'm gonna say? Because I said it. Because he's so boring looking. There's a reason the game he's from failed.
Huh? What game?
It was a game made by the same people that made Doom. Like, look at this thing. He's like, oh, look how cool it is. Look how cool.
It looks cute.
It is not cute.
It looks cute.
It's boring compared to the freaking sheep. How is that what you're excited for?
Oh, because there's a boss there. There we go. Shit. As long as he can't escape, we're in the clear. Fuck!
I know.
Like lightning in a bottle. I can't let you go now I got it. All I need is to be struck by... I don't even know why I tried to be creative. You're just gonna square now, motherfucker.
Oh yeah, it does say single stage pure light type. But it's cute,
Don't try me.
so I don't care.
Do not test me.
Oh my gosh. This saves us from having to remake the gem trap icons. Oh my gosh. Oh. I'm so, dude. When is he gonna announce the new doodles?
Oh, I'm surprised you're not talking about how I'll Hate Them stuff is coming out next week.
So when is the update? I'm gonna go rabid for it.
Oh, the I'll Hate Them trip?
When is that also on Saturday?
No, it's sometimes either next week or the week after that.
No! I'm gonna drool over him.
That's a stream clip! That's a stream clip!
I'm so excited.
Are you just gonna foam at the mouth? Am I gonna think you have rabies?
Oh, I'm so excited. I love all of them.
We know you love this man. We frankly know you are incredibly down bad for this man. And I will not shush, I'm right, and you hate that I am.
Huh? Emoji of what?
What is that melody?
Oh! Child. So
Shut the fuck up. Did you ever scream for Child like you don't hate them? No, I don't
yes,
fucking
I
think.
did.
Oh my god, of course you did.
Unfortunately, during his boss fight, I was also yelling at my little brother because he was threatening to break the TV I was playing
Okay, well to be fair, he's hot during his boss fight. I will give you that.
all the time.
He ain't that hot. He ain't that hot all the time. When he's drawn excellently, oh yeah, he's a fine ass man.
What'd you say?
Nothing.
No. You can do it. You have a drawing program now that I gave it to you. You can do it. No, it didn't. I can put you back in. I can put. You literally didn't show me. You just told me. You just told me. No, you didn't. You're a liar. You didn't show me. You just told me. Sure. Exactly. Coming up with excuses. Maker.
Shit. I still never get over the fact that we literally have a phantom named Bitch in all capitals.
Is there a vending machine in the storm building? I'm not asking you.
Dorm wise, no. Near the cafe, yes.
Is it like open?
The vending machine's never closed.
My throat hurts like really bad. Like it hurts to swallow.
The normal cafe's open. The normal
I
cafe.
told you the water fountains are the city water.
If you go down now, the normal cafe is open.
But I get anxious at the cafe.
It's Eve. She's nice.
What?
Alright, there we go. The bitch gets more space to actually be a bitch ass motherfucker.
You're talking about like water fountains, right?
Our water fountains are disgusting.
The vending machines.
The vending machines have bottled water. They have like bottled things, but I don't think they have water.
They don't have bottled water.
Not in the vending machines. I think in the cafe only they
I
do.
don't want coffee. I do not need to stay up anymore. Oh! See? He's coming up with so many excuses all of a sudden.
Hi, Skrunkly. What are you doing? Don't you dare. I swear to God. Leave the box alone. Hey, fuck off.
I think you're coming up with so many excuses right now. I'm about to get my purse and I'm about to take you with me to the vending machine.
Skrunkly, those are closed to donate. Fuck off.
Because a certain somebody didn't tell me that we were out of water.
Fuck off.
Alright, you're coming with me.
Honest-
I gotta get my purse to make sure I have single dollar bills.
It takes credit.
That's right, my card does work. Hopefully.
You're welcome. Oh my God, I missed. Oh, and it starts raining. Minecraft
I
said
should bring
spike.
my ID just in case I decide. Is there like just like juice you can get from the cafe?
Yeah.
Okay.
There's also juice.
I don't know, cause I've like only gotten something once from the cafe, and the person I got it from like laughed at my order, and I never went ever since.
Well, some people who work in the cafe are kind of bitches.
Like, I don't like interacting with people, and then you're gonna laugh at me. I can't handle that stuff.
But also a bunch of people at the cafe who are nice. Hey, I think I'm actually gonna.
Single dollar bill.
I think I'm gonna end stream. I've been streaming for an hour, which I don't live. I'm tired. It's been a long day.
You're coming with me.
Who's live?